Because let's not forget, Jimmy Haslam said he didn't have nothing to do with Shedeur getting drafted. He said it was all Andrew Berry, the one that made the call. It's on him. So, okay, that's what we gonna ride with, right? We gonna put that on Andrew Berry, and it seems like Andrew Berry so far has made a really good prediction, a really good call to get Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round. If he did make that call, it's Jimmy Haslam said he did.
Don't skip a single second of this video, and if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Let's begin. You don't get moments like this in the NFL very often. An owner, a general manager, a head coach, all standing under the same Cleveland spotlight, and not one of them pulling in the same direction. Jimmy Haslam didn't just make a comment when he said, Andrew Berry made the call on Shedeur Sanders. He set off a grenade in the middle of the Browns front office. Owners don't do that. You never see it. 5th-round picks are supposed to be low-risk, low-drama swings. If they hit, great. If they don't, you move on. But Haslam, he practically put Berry's name in bold letters and said, if this blows up, it's on him. That's not normal. That's not casual. That's calculated. And if you think that's just standard media talk, you're missing the real game being played here. This is about control. This is about pride. This is about who's really steering the Cleveland Browns into the future. And the best part, the so-called risk Berry took, just went out and dropped a debut performance that made everyone sit up in their chairs. Shedeur didn't just survive his first taste of NFL action. He owned it. He didn't look like some 5th-round flyer. He looked like a quarterback who'd been here before, who'd been waiting for this exact moment to make the guys who doubted him squirm. Now here's where it gets even better. Picture Kevin Stefanski on the sideline. Calm, measured, giving all the safe vanilla coach speak answers about evaluation mode and developing players. But you can see it in his face. You can see it in his body language. This wasn't in his plan. The rookie wasn't supposed to crash the quarterback room like this. Not now. Not this fast. Meanwhile, Andrew Berry, you could see the vindication dripping off him like sweat after a 2-minute drill. Haslam threw him under the bus. Stefanski wasn't campaigning for this kid. And Berry still pulled the trigger. That's guts. That's conviction. And now, after one game, it's looking a lot less like a gamble and a lot more like the smartest move Cleveland's front office has made in years. But make no mistake, this is more than just a player versus player competition. This is a front office chess match, and every move is magnified. The Browns aren't just trying to figure out who their quarterback is going to be. They're figuring out who's actually calling the shots in this building. And when power is on the line, every throw Shedeur makes becomes political. Every completion, every touchdown, every drive, it's all a message. This isn't camp fluff. This isn't a preseason headline that'll fade in a week. This is the opening chapter of a season that could either unite Cleveland behind a new face of the franchise, or tear the power structure apart from the inside out. And after watching what just went down, I'm telling you the fuse has already been lit. And the next explosion? That's coming sooner than you think. You could feel it from the very first snap. Shedeur Sanders wasn't just another rookie getting his feet wet. He was playing like a man who knew every single throw, every single read, every single moment mattered. This wasn't about surviving his debut, it was about sending a message. And he sent it loud. Let's start with the numbers. Because yeah, they matter. 14 completions on 23 attempts, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, a 106.8 passer rating. That's not just solid for a rookie. That's surgical. That's efficient. That's the kind of debut that makes coaches go back and rewatch the tape twice, not because they have to, but because they want to see how he did it. But here's the real story. It's not the box score, it's the how, the pocket presence, the patience, the way he went through his progressions like he'd been in the league for years. We've all seen rookies panic, force throws, and crumble under pressure. That wasn't Shedeur. He stood tall. He trusted his reads. He played like the game had finally slowed down on his very first day. And you can't help but think about the guys who came before him. Russell Wilson, a third-round pick who wasn't supposed to start as a rookie. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in the draft, who walked into the huddle like he'd been there forever. They weren't handed the job. They took it. And now Shedeur Sanders is walking down that same path. Every snap he took against Carolina was a statement. The quick outs? A reminder that he can hit timing routes without hesitation. The red zone throws? Proof that he can make the tight window decisions you have to make in the NFL. And maybe the most important stat of all, 0 turnovers. In a league where rookie quarterbacks often sink themselves by giving the ball away, Shedeur played clean. That's not luck. That's preparation. That's discipline. That's football IQ. And look, the media will try to spin this as just preseason. But if you've been watching this game long enough, you know certain performances mean more. You know when you're seeing something that's not supposed to happen. A 5th-round pick looking more poised than the guys drafted above him. He wasn't supposed to shake up the depth chart in week 1 of the preseason. He wasn't supposed to make the Browns coaching staff ask hard questions this early. But here we are. And I'll tell you right now, every other quarterback in that room felt it. You can't watch a debut like that and not feel the pressure rise. Because Shedeur Sanders isn't just playing for reps. He's playing for a place in this franchise's future. And if he keeps stacking performances like this, it's not going to be a question of if he gets that shot. It's going to be a question of how soon. And that's exactly where the tension in Cleveland is about to hit another level. Kevin Stefanski stood at that podium, looked right into the cameras, and gave the safest, most vanilla answers you could possibly imagine. We're in evaluation mode. We're just focused on developing our players. You've heard this before, but in this moment those lines hit differently. They didn't sound like your standard post-game coach speak. They sounded like a wall going up. A wall between what everyone just saw on the field and what the Browns are willing to admit. Because let's be real, when your rookie 5th-round quarterback steps in, drops a 106.8 passer rating, throws 2 touchdowns, and outshines everyone else in that QB room, you don't shrug it off as just development. Not if you're excited. Not if you're fully bought in. That kind of answer, that's the kind you give when you're not ready, or maybe not willing to open the door to a new conversation. And here's where things get tense. In the NFL, quarterback depth charts are not just football decisions. They're political battlefields. You've got veterans with contracts. You've got draft capital invested in other guys. You've got locker room loyalties and media narratives. And then suddenly a young gun like Shedeur Sanders walks in and shakes up the whole equation. If you're Stefanski, that's a storm brewing right in your office. So why the stone wall? Maybe he's protecting the vets. Maybe he's making sure guys like Kenny Pickett or Dylan Gabriel don't feel the ground crumbling under them this early. Maybe he's keeping the narrative in-house so the headlines don't start writing themselves. Or maybe, and this is where fans have to ask tough questions, maybe he's just not ready to admit that a 5th-round pick might be the best quarterback he's got. And you can see it if you watch closely. While Andrew Berry looked like a man finally getting vindication, Stefanski's face told a different story. No wide smiles. No public excitement. Just the same rehearsed phrases over and over. Almost like if he acknowledged how good Shedeur was, he'd have to start making changes he's not ready to make. But here's the thing. In Cleveland right now, avoiding the conversation isn't going to stop it. This fan base isn't blind. They saw the same throws. They saw the same composure. And if Shedeur keeps stacking performances, Stefanski's wall isn't going to protect him from the pressure building on the outside. Because sooner or later, the question won't be if Shedeur should move up the depth chart. It'll be why he hasn't already. And that's when this QB room turns from competition into confrontation. You could see it in Andrew Berry's face. That little glint in his eye that said, "I told you so." This wasn't just another draft pick for him. This was a swing. A swing that, if it connects, could change not just the Browns' quarterback room, but his legacy as a general manager. Because when you're in Berry's chair, every big move is a gamble. And taking Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round, that was a high-stakes bet on talent over the consensus board. Now fast forward to training camp, and suddenly the kid everyone said might need years to develop is running the huddle with poise, dropping dimes in joint practices, and making veteran defenders shake their heads in disbelief. That's the kind of early return on investment that makes a GM feel bulletproof. And for Berry, who's had his share of criticism over the years, this is vindication playing out in real time. But here's where it gets complicated. The front office might be buzzing. Some players in that locker room, they're all in. They see Sanders as a spark, a leader, maybe even the guy to finally stabilize the position that's been Cleveland's curse for decades. And make no mistake, when the guys on the field start believing in a quarterback, that energy is contagious. You can feel it in the way receivers run sharper routes, and how the offensive line digs a little deeper to hold the pocket. But not everyone's on that train yet. In every NFL locker room, there are veterans tied to other quarterbacks through friendships, shared battles, or simply respect for the grind those guys have put in. There are coaches who've spent months, even years, building game plans around someone else. And when a rookie starts cutting into those reps, it can feel like the ground is shifting under your feet. That's the undercurrent here, a subtle divide. On one side, the believers. On the other, the skeptics. And right in the middle, Andrew Berry, watching his gamble ripple through the roster. If Sanders keeps shining, Berry becomes the architect of one of the great draft steals in Browns history. But if the room fractures, if this QB competition turns into quiet tension, then this "I told you so" moment could turn into a "what have we done" crisis. The Browns have been here before. Moments where hope surged, only for politics, pressure, and poor decisions to crush it. The question now is whether Berry's gamble becomes the glue that finally pulls this team together, or the fault line that splits it apart. And in the NFL, those answers tend to come a lot faster than you think. Close your eyes and picture it. It's late December in Cleveland. The air is cold, the stadium is packed, and every single snap feels like life or death. On one side of this vision, Shedeur Sanders is holding a clipboard, standing on the sideline, watching another quarterback struggle to move the ball.
The Browns are scratching for relevance, fans are frustrated, and the same old story plays out yet again. Next year will be our year, but there's another version, a completely different scene. In this one, Shedeur Sanders is under center. The crowd is electric, feeding off every throw, every read, every scramble. The rookie who came in as a fifth-round question mark is suddenly the heartbeat of a playoff push. The Browns aren't just playing football, they're rewriting their identity. And it's all because one guy refused to wait his turn. That's the choice hanging in front of this franchise right now. And it's why I believe the Browns' entire future could be sitting in Shedeur Sanders' hands. We've seen what this kid can do when the lights are bright. Go back to his college days, the big games, the hostile crowds, the moments where the playbook said one thing but the game demanded something else. Shedeur didn't flinch. He didn't just manage the moment, he owned it. That's the kind of mentality you can't coach, and it's the exact thing this franchise has been starving for at quarterback. This isn't about hype. This isn't about preseason flashes. This is about a proven pattern, a player who thrives when everything is on the line. And when you look at Cleveland's history at the position, you know how rare that is. There will be people in the building who say it's too soon, that the risk is too high. But the bigger risk? Wasting a year on safe choices while your best shot at changing the narrative sits and waits. Every great NFL turnaround starts with one bold decision. For the Seahawks, it was letting a third-round rookie named Russell Wilson win the job. For the 49ers, it was trusting Brock Purdy when the safe move was going with experience. And for the Browns, it could be this, handing the keys to Shedeur Sanders before the league even has time to figure him out. Because here's the truth, steals aren't steals if you hide them in the garage. They become legends when you put them on the road and floor it. And if the Browns are serious about changing their story, if they're serious about ending decades of what could have been, then this is the moment. My prediction, we're going to look back on this draft and say the Browns didn't just find their quarterback, they found the man who changed everything. And the rest of the league won't see it coming until it's too late.